Good evening. I see we've got a few viewers in the chat tonight. How's my sound? Good. Fine. We're doing something a little bit different tonight. Instead of U-matic, we're gonna take a stab at digitizing some Super VHS cassettes. Here's the story. I have brought home once again the Panasonic AG-7350. Super VHS VCR from 2000. I brought it home once, made a video of it. You can watch it on the channel. Excuse me, I just ate trail mix. I brought it home, made a video of it, and kept it around for a while, played with it a little bit, and then I brought it back. Well, I've brought it home again, and it's probably here to stay with me because the storage closet it was in, back at the TV station, is being converted into something else. So everything that was inside it had to go into basement storage. But I didn't want to put this thing in basement storage just because it's not climate controlled and stuff like that. So I brought it home again, and it's probably here to stay. It's no secret that I want to keep this VCR once I've used it to digitize all the VHS and S-VHS cassettes that we have at the station. So it's here now, and once I digitize all the tapes, it'll be mine. Presumably, I'm not sure if I actually discuss that with Patrick, but I don't think he has any plans for it once I digitize all the tapes. And I brought home with it a banker's box full of VHS and S-VHS cassettes. So I did a poll on Twitter, and I said, hey, do you want to see U-matic or S-VHS on the next digitization stream? And it was actually pretty evenly split, but the majority ended up voting S-VHS, so that's what we're going to try tonight. Now, I thought that the bulk of the tapes, or rather all the tapes, I thought the tapes I brought home came from Fundy Cable 10. While I was preparing for this stream half an hour ago, I pulled a couple of tapes out and put them in the VCR just to make sure the VCR was working good and everything. And I discovered that I think most, if not all of these tapes are not from Fundy Cable 10. They're actually from St. Andrews Community Television, which was the original form of what is now CHCO TV, back when it was just a cable channel before it got a broadcast license in 2006. So these might be from, not might, I think most of these are from St. Andrews Community Television. And 99% of these tapes, I'm staring down because I'll show you the box. Oh, 99% of these tapes are not labeled. They have no labeling on them whatsoever. So I have no idea what's on these tapes. It is a great big crapshoot. But I tried a couple of tapes, so I know what's on a couple of tapes. And I figure I'll let you guys choose from these couple of tapes that I know there's certain stuff on. I'll let you guys choose where we start. First of all, here is the machine in question, the Panasonic AG-7350. What a beautiful VCR. I really love this thing. It works super well. A lot of these particular Panasonic VCRs have issues with capacitors going bad. This one is totally fine. It is 100% perfect. I don't know if it was refurbished in its life, or where this one is quite a late one, made in 2000, maybe it just skipped the bad capacitors. But it's a great working machine, really smooth operating. It's super smooth and quiet, a complete opposite from the U-matic machine. And it's a really nice VCR. I really love it. And it records, and that's why I'm so into it. So there's the VCR, and you can see my my YouTube camcorder sitting on it there, my DV camcorder. So that's the VCR. So I'm going to get you guys to tell me, what tape do we start with first? So here's the two choices. One of these tapes is a 2-hour tape, and when I put it in and played it, it appeared to be an interview with an old man. Once again, no labeling, no anything. I just started playing the tape, and it was an interview with an old man. The other choice is a 30-minute tape with no labeling, and when I put it in, I just saw some pictures, and the signal was really bad, and the hi-fi audio was cutting in and out. So I don't really know what's on the rest of this tape. All I saw was some pictures with really bad tracking. So it's that or Interview with Old Man. So cast your vote. And of course, Interview with Old Man could have been recorded 20 years ago, and the guy looked to be in like his 90s. So this could have been someone born before World War I, which is kind of neat. We have 2 votes for Interview with Old Man, 3 votes for Interview with Old Man. Alistair votes for the 30-minute tape. Sorry, Alistair, it looks like you're outnumbered there. Oh, we got some. Oh, we got some vote changes. Let's see. So we've got. I'm counting Alistair's mother as a vote. So we've got 1, 2, 3 for the old man interview, 4 for the old man interview, and 2 for the 30-minute tape. So, okay, we're doing the old man interview. Alright, so, here's the tape in question. It is a Maxell Professional ST-126 Super VHS cassette. ST-126, so 126 minutes in length. Interesting, I didn't know Super VHS tapes were sold in such uneven lengths. If I had to guess, it's probably so that you could have like a 2-hour program with 2 minutes of commercials on either end of it, and then an extra minute on either end just for padding. I don't know. But anyway, that's what it is. It's, and again, no label at all. I'm just reading Maxell's advertising. Broadcast quality video cassette, back-coated, suitable for high-quality picture recording and digital audio. So Maxell said you could even use this tape to record digital audio, and how that was done was there were devices, I know Sony made them back in the 80s and 90s, where the device would have an analog audio input, and it would have a composite video input that you'd put into the VCR. And basically, you'd hook your audio up to, it was called a PCM adapter, PCM referring to the audio format, pulse code modulation. So this device would take in audio and convert it to a digital PCM audio stream, which it would record into the VCR as a composite video signal. So it's digital audio in the form of a composite signal, which is really cool. Anyway, Maxell says you can use this tape for this too. Fun fact, when the compact disc was first invented, the first compact discs were mastered on U-matic. U-matic was the format of choice to hook a PCM adapter up to record a PCM audio stream, which would later be pressed into a CD. I thought that was pretty darn cool. Anyway, that's what it says. Also, it gives the length for if you're in a PAL country, 180 minutes. So here's the cassette itself. It's labeled 1. And most of these cassettes are like this. Most of these cassettes are these Maxell cassettes, and they're labeled like 1 through 20. And that's it. So, All right. So we're going to see what tape number 1, interview with old man, how that turns out. So maybe it's a 20 tape long interview, 40 hours. I don't know. See, I thought of that too. I was like, why would they just be labeled 1 through 20 if they weren't 20 tapes of 20 different parts of the same thing? I don't know. Or maybe St. Andrews Community Television was just really terrible at labeling their tapes. I don't know. But so you're gonna have to bear with me here because with this VCR, there's no skew control I have to play with, which is nice, but there is manual tracking, and the tracking on VHS is way less forgiving than it is on U-matic, so you got to be more precise with it. And also, this VCR doesn't automatically switch between hi-fi audio and linear audio, so for each tape, I gotta test and see which audio tracks are there, and if there's a hi-fi audio track, see if the signal's still good enough that it's reliable. Otherwise, I gotta use the linear audio track. So, let's put her in here. And we'll hit play. And we'll see what we get here. Make sure you have computer audio. Make sure you have computer audio. Yep, good. And let's fast forward here. Oh, there we go. So no idea what year this is from. No idea of anything. Alright, actually I should play through this for a few seconds so I can set the tracking.
He wouldn't work under the Liquor Act when they put the liquor stores in, so he quit the police force. He was a carpenter by trade too.
Alright. Okay, here we go.
Well, you're a native Charlotte County.
Oh yeah.
And
my father was the town marshal, St. George.
Oh boy.
And being in his religion, he wouldn't work under the Liquor Act when they put the liquor stores in, so he quit the police force. He was a carpenter by trade too, and he did quite a bit of carpenter work. And then they get the Sheriff Stewart wanted him to come over here. Oh, in 1927, I think it was first. He was after him. 25. It's time the Hansapackle murder. And wanted my father to come over here to look after the jail.
Yeah.
But he was doing carpenter work and doing all right for himself, and didn't want to leave St. George because his mother and father lived there and they were getting along in years. But eventually, he found that climbing over buildings and stuff was too much for him, so he accepted this job.
Now, when your mom and dad moved to St. Andrews, did they move to this house?
No, jail. Dad was jailer.
I see.
Deputy sheriff and jailer.
So this house is really your house.
Well, more or less, yeah.
You were the first of the
The
family.
Goodall family lived here.
Yeah.
My mother and I moved over from the jail over to here. 56, I think it was. Around that we moved over across here.
So it's been nearly half a century.
Yeah, half a century, huh?
I was thinking, and I was going to say, the reason you've been able to stay out of trouble so long in your life, George, is because you lived right beside the jail and the courthouse.
Yeah, and at the jail.
And at the jail. Yeah. So you knew what it was like to be housed in the jail.
Oh, yeah.
But that's great. George, you graduated from what school?
Charlotte County Grammar School.
Charlotte County Grammar School.
They called it Prince Arthur and they called it Charlotte County Grammar in 1939.
Boy, just after the war had started.
Mm-hmm.
So did you run off to the Second World War?
I couldn't get in. Okay,
Too young?
category E,
Category
permanently unfit. I have my discharge papers.
permanently unfit.
Yeah. See, I had pneumonia 5 times,
Oh
and I
dear.
had scars in my lung,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
and bad eyes too.
so the First World War or the Second World War was not part of your
No.
adventures.
No, I had a brother in there, but not I.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the when did you what was your first job?
First job in
Yeah.
St. Andrews?
I guess in St. Andrews.
Well, he works at the golf links,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to hotel in 34.
Oh yeah, I've got this here, and I can't believe it. You know, in the hotel on the 30th of June of the year 1934, you were an elevator operator,
Yeah, 34, yeah.
and your rate was $15, and that's not a day. That's
A month, yeah.
a month.
And your board and your meals and everything
Yeah,
else. Was all.
yeah,
Oh, that was going wages in those days.
yeah. Because then in 35, you took the big step up to being busboy.
Yeah, yeah.
And your wages took a big step up to
Yeah,
$20.
Yeah, yeah,
And you were a busboy there for 5 years.
yeah. Well, I was chief busboy in room service.
Yeah,
I was down in room service a lot.
yeah. Boy, all the way through to 39.
Yeah, 39.
It's actually kinda cool.
After 39,
The closed hotel, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what did they close it for?
Wartime staff, I suppose, possibly
Yeah.
one thing, and
Yeah.
yes, not traveling.
Yes, people were staying closer to
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
So that, and then what did you do after that? The hotel closed.
Hotel. Well, I graduated in 39 from school,
Yeah.
and then I just odd jobs here and there, nothing any permanent. I worked for O'Neill's for a while, and I worked for
So this guy was probably born around 1911, 1912.
which couldn't do a better man to work for, Don Oxner.
Yeah.
He was tops.
Yeah. Well, Don is still I know his bridge is still first class.
Yeah, and Don, you didn't work for him; you worked with him.
With him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a great man.
And then after Don.
Well, I was at the jail part time.
Yeah.
You see, they didn't pay big high wages over there
No.
at the jail, and Mr. O'Neill went to the sheriff and asked the sheriff if I consented, would it be all right for me to work with him? And through Mr. O'Neill and or Bill O'Neill and
Yeah.
Sheriff Mallory, so I was over the jail, and of course the times were pretty quiet. And if anything, court or anything like that, see, I wouldn't be where O'Neill to be up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Court crier, court constable.
Were times in St. Andrews ever anything but quiet?
Well, no, it's a pretty good town to live in, I think. Yeah. We've had a few major fires and
Well, that
a
was.
couple of hangings. One hanging in my day,
You know.
and it's just pretty good.
I in reading about St. Andrews, George, I noticed that there were numerous fires in the early 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would cause all these fires?
Some of them was deliberately set, and others was grass fires and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I remember one fire we had up in the back hill there, and there was a funeral in St. Stephen, and some of the firemen were up there, and I had to go down to school to get the boys out of school to help fight the fire. So most of the firemen was away. I had to go
yeah.
help.
Boy. Well, I bet you the kids at school love that.
Yeah.
That would be a real adventure for them.
Yeah, well, you get out of school that afternoon anyway.
Yeah. But arson, did they ever find out the
They had
person or people?
one fellow under suspicion. They took him to magistrate. He got a big sentence. So many days in Shamcook.
So many days in Shamco.
Yeah.
What did they put him in the lake?
Oh, with his sister. Yeah.
Oh dear. So that was, and that was a big sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a bit of arson around here. We all lost the old rink.
Yeah, I remember. I remember skating in the old
Oh, yeah.
rink.
Yeah.
And that would have gone in the 40s, wouldn't it?
39.
39.
Christmas Day. It's Christmas night, 1939.
Oh boy. Christmas Eve or Christmas night?
Christmas Eve. No, Christmas night.
Christmas
Christmas night,
night.
25th.
Yeah, 25th of
Yeah.
December. And
Yeah.
that was arson?
Hmm?
That was arson.
Well, they believe it never convicted him and never sentenced him.
Yeah.
But they believe it was arson
Yeah.
because it started in the second floor of the building.
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no fun.
Well, then they O'Neill's had a haystack down next to the rink. They, outside stack. They feed the cows in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And that was set afire 2 or 3 times.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Watching the Olympics right now, which is the Canadian Olympic team is being supported by the Dairy Association of Canada.
Yeah.
And they throw bales of hay out to the skaters. And there's a whole line of cows leaning over the boards mooing.
Yeah.
Maybe Bill O'Neill had that idea back in
Yeah.
back in '39.
No, they started right that spring to build the second arena.
Yeah, which was just over here.
The same on the same place where the
Yeah. Old one had come down.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Boy.
And they called the hockey team the Senators.
Yeah. Yeah. The Senators.
Senator Wilson gave
Yeah.
the first donation towards the
Corrine Wilson.
hockey in St. Andrews, and they named the hockey team the Senators.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I never knew where the name came
Yeah,
from,
that's
but
all.
now I do.
Yeah.
Now I do.
The
And it remained the Senators
Yeah, always.
all the way through.
Oh, you mean?
That
Yeah.
they played.
You guys are smart. I didn't even
There's no
hear
Senators
anything
now,
about
and there hasn't been
it being an Olympic
for a
year.
number of years.
I would say myself that the father of hockey in St. Andrews was E.B. Simpson.
Yeah.
He paid out of his pocket. We rented a piece of land down opposite the rink
Yeah.
for the kids to skate, and he paid that out of his pocket. And we had a snowstorm, and about 3 or 4 o'clock, Bert Gown was the gardener at Clybrick.
Yeah.
Bert Gown, he would be an uncle of Deb Rigby's. And he and Mr. Simpson would come down and help to shovel that rink off so the kids could skate that night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Mr. Simpson supported a local league hockey team. They called it the Tip Tops.
The Tip Tops.
That was Tip Tops.
Nothing to do with Tip Top Tailors.
Well, see, Mr. Simpson sold the Tip Top
Yeah.
goods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, they were great. Mr. Simpson was a man to close his business off and go down and work for the kids.
Yeah. And then there was the old Stinson grocery that was right beside the
Yeah.
old Marina Theater.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was all part of the Stinson family?
No, that was the old Shirley building.
Ah.
Shirley used to have a hardware store,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where Howard Gilman put in made his Waterloo.
Ooh, what happened there?
Well, they had a stove in there, and Howard come down in the morning. We always called him Mike.
Yeah.
Come down in the morning to start the fire, picked up this, he thought it was kerosene, and threw in the stove, and it was gasoline.
Ooh.
Someone has put gasoline in the,
Kerosene can.
yeah,
And that just exploded.
yeah, he got clear of it. He got no marks on it, but he took an awful fright out of him.
I bet.
That's the old Shirley building.
Yes. George, over the years, think back if you would, and because I know here in your book, I mean, there are just pages and pages of facts and not statistics so much, but facts and both sides of there. I've got Montague Street in front of me. There's Harriet Street. There are all kinds of streets of all of the towns, the businesses. What were the major businesses and ongoing industry, if I could call it that, here in St. Andrews.
Of course, Conley's was a big
Yeah.
going affair, and we used to have 2 barbershops, and 2 theaters, and let's see, undertaking power, Jack Ross,
Yeah.
and it's just general going. There's 2 men's clothing stores and 2 drug stores.
Yeah. Wren's and
Rand's,
Cochrane's.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the telephone office, the telegraph office was both where Goomba Shells is.
Yes.
Yeah. Then there's the bake shop, one there, and Claude Mitchell had one down with the Man's Club. He didn't last too long because he signed up in the army.
Yeah.
He fell off the back of a truck and vertically killed, or died in the effect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Dick Pegg had the bake shop, and he wrapped that bread by hand. He'd sit there in that chair and he wrapped that bread by hand.
See.
Sunrise, they called it, wasn't it? Yeah, sunrise bread.
Sunrise.
Yeah.
Because it was baked when the sun was rising.
Yeah, well, he'd go to work, I guess, before 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. The now, of course, Conley's is no longer, and I remember well when the CPR train would come in at noon and leave at sort of 5 to 6 o'clock at night, and that was, to us as kids, that was a big daily activity.
Well, the railroad track, believe it or not, used to go up back at the Marine Theatre.
It did?
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah,
no
there's
idea
a line
that.
there. I'm sorry, I never thought about that book. It's got a picture of the. See, that was the coal. Brought the coal in there,
Yeah.
and quite a cold. Dropped the coal off quite a cold shed, and there was a line that went up the back of just about back of the Marine Theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. There was also a wharf back there.
Oh yes. Long wharf, big building on top of that CPR or that quite a cold wharf. They stored the coal in there.
Quaddy Coal Wharf.
Yeah.
And then
That was the back of the theatre.
back of the,
Yeah.
right. Then there was another wharf, wasn't there?
Oh, there's different wharfs. There was a Dunes had a wharf,
Yeah.
and then Howard Greenlaw had a fish factory down there, fish or retail.
Yeah.
And then the CPR, they used to call it the Steamboat Wharf. It's a lighthouse wharf, the last one down.
Yeah.
That was known as the Steamboat Wharf.
Yeah.
And then up in the upper end of town, there was the Beckerton's Wharf, and some individuals, people, had property there, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so from all these wharves, now some were for like quaddy coal, some
Yeah.
were for industry, but you mentioned the one where there was a retail fish wharf. Fishing was a big part of
Oh
St.
yeah,
Andrews.
yeah. Well, that area down there where the Conley's had, that was known as the Commons.
The Commons. And where did it get that name?
I don't know where they got that.
Yeah.
Of course, Kennedy's first hotel was down there,
Ah.
and that was a big part of the town. See, the steamboat used to come into the long wharf down there instead of coming up the
Up to the main
the
wharf,
one boat
yeah.
coming up from Campbell and Deer Island. Of course, that was before my time. Yeah.
But you remember because it was told to you.
Yeah, well, it was told to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When I remember as a young fellow, George, and that the Grand Manan Ferry, the Deer Island mail boat.
Yeah.
I mean, those were daily occurrences.
Daily occurrence. Yep.
Very important.
In the wintertime, the Grand Manan would stay here on a Thursday night and wouldn't go to St. Stephen. There's too much ice. Stay all night here, and then the mailboat come up. Sometimes the mailboat in wintertime couldn't arrive. Too much ice in the bay and couldn't get in. Have to turn around and go back again. I've seen that bay out there almost the whole way across. It's flooded.
Boy.
And in 1923, the bay froze over. The whole bay froze over. And Tracy Johnson and I don't know who a gardener from Deer Island skated over to Deer Island, had their dinner, and skated back. They put a rowboat between them in case the ice gave way.
Yeah.
And on the way over, people was coming up from Deer Island. And that was 23, must have some cold.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because we think that because of salt water doesn't freeze. I've never seen the bay at all frozen,
Yeah. Oh,
but in 23 it really it
yeah.
must have been.
Yeah.
Is it ever frozen again to any degree?
Out quite a ways, but the boats could get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes it different? Was it just that the weather was colder then than it is now in the winter?
It could be that, and a lot of fresh water coming in, like from up around Warwick and
Yeah.
the arms. The fresh water going in and come down.
The Warwick River
And freeze the upper part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the St. Croix River also has a fair amount of fresh water
Yeah.
before it hits the bay.
Yeah, that's it.
So it would be feeding the bay.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, that cove used to freeze over, and Sunday afternoon, I think that was a couple hundred people over there skating on the cove,
Yeah.
and that's salt water.
Yeah. Yeah. It had no tidal movement in it though,
No,
would it?
no.
And that would help, you think?
Well, a lot of the water come up from the James Brook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Mo would know where James Brook is. Where was it started, Mo?
Pardon?
Where was it started? The original outlet for the, or inlet for the James Brook.
You know better than I would.
There was a geologist here a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and he claims that the James Brook started on the west side of Greenlaw Mountain.
The west side of Greenlaw Mountain?
Yeah, that's
Boy.
the St. Stephen's side.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Greenlaw Mountain, and it came down there and across below Shamcook Mountain, which was the Townsend's property,
Yeah.
and it was later bought by Van Horn's and the Van Horn farm there. I remember people living up there at Van Horn farm, and it would go across the under the bridge there and down in the hollow there,
Mm-hmm.
and go across and go down into the wood. What's that? Not Fry Road.
Oh, I know the.
Go down to Shamcook North.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it went down in there, and they branched off, and one stream went down into where they built the boats out there, and the other one down through in McCoy's field, McCoy's pasture, and into the St. Andrews there.
Yeah.
And that was the James Brook, and that's where the mineral spring was, on the side of the main James Brook.
Did people use it as a drinking stream?
Well, all folks tell me that they used to truck the water up to the hotel from the mineral spring
Yeah.
for the guest room and for the dining room till 1920, till the town put the water system in here.
Mm.
It always come from that mineral spring down there. The remnants of the spring's still there.
Yeah.
You go on that street, it's going to the bar road, or the cove, just follow that street up there, and the first, as one tree turns to your left,
Yeah.
and on the right hand side, just opposite where that road is, mineral springs in there.
Right across from my house.
You were down there, are you? Oh,
His new house. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know
Most
that.
of the new houses down
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah.
some of the men, I was out there last year, and I was talking to a couple of residents out there, and they wanted to town to clean that place up and have a little park down there along
Yeah.
there, and no residents on that side of the road. Yeah.
George, what is the main difference, if any, between St. Andrews of old and St. Andrews today?
Well, of course, it's what 50 years difference there.
Yeah.
No horse and wagon around here now.
No, I
Oh.
guess not. Although we did in the summer occasionally.
Yeah.
We get the bear, isn't
Yeah,
it? Bear,
yeah.
name with his horse and wagon.
Yeah.
But
that carriage, they tell me, come from the Gilmore estate in St. George.
oh,
Senator Gilmore. He lived down on the Brandon Brae, down in the back of St. George.
George, yes.
And he had a cottage, beautiful home down there. And he kept his horses and stuff down there. Oh, Senator Dan Gilmore.
See. But it's basically all the amenities of modern day is the,
Oh, yeah,
is
it's
the
changed
main
things, yeah.
is the main difference.
That's changed things, yeah.
With the people of St. Andrews, George, I guess in their attitudes towards visitors, because we certainly have a lot of tourists in the summer, and I'm sure St. Andrews had a lot of tourists in the old days. Is there
More so today with cars and
Yeah,
better transportation.
yeah,
Yeah, because see the hotel, the people used to come to Algonquin. They come in the last week of June, stay till Labor Day,
yeah?
and they're here permanent for the summer.
Permanently
Yeah.
for the 2 months. Yeah,
Now there's more transit than anything else.
yeah, yeah. Busloads coming in
Oh
and
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. But the approach to the visitors, have you noticed any difference in the approach or the attitude of native St. Andrews people towards tourists?
I've talked to quite a few people that goes over to visit the courthouse there, and I'd be out in the yard and they saw them come in, and they said they never saw a town that was so open to tourists as St. Andrews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always been that way, hasn't it?
I think so,
George?
yeah, yeah. Of course, years ago, there's people lived on the hill, and
Yeah.
new people live downtown. It's altogether different.
Yeah. Well, I remember Jeannie Stinson telling me when I was chatting with her that King Street was the main divide line. Those
Well,
that
yeah,
live
always called it
east
yeah.
of King Street and those that live
Yeah.
west of King
Uptown,
Street.
downtown. Or,
Yeah, yeah, uptown and downtown. I can't imagine that, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I understand.
Well, they used to have a hockey team. The Rooneys, there were about 5, 6 boys in that, and the McFarlanes, Donnie McFarlanes.
Donnies, yeah.
And then they put an exhibition game on, like a concert or something, be down at the rink, and they put an exhibition game. The Rooneys and the McFarlanes. Oh, yeah.
Who was that? Like the old Dog Patch Feud?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, the good old days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think today the town people and the tourists is much friendlier than they used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much. There's not so much as of a divide.
No, you don't hear this Master John or Master or Lady so and so and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's been out for a long time.
Oh, yeah, it goes to the war. The war changed that.
That, you know.
Yeah.
But I do remember, and this was back in the 50s, that the townfolk of St. Andrews never would go up to the hotel casino for a dance.
Oh no.
But then all of a sudden, that changed.
Open up, yeah. Yeah.
It opened up, and I mean, there would be more townfolk at a dance at the casino than there would be
Oh yeah.
guests or summer people.
They say that the war makes it change.
Yeah. Well, I guess I had my initial, history in St. Andrews was Mom and Dad and Linda and I would come down for the summer.
Yeah.
And I guess we would be classified as summer folk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But when I look back and over the years, I knew more and had more friends that were here 12 months of the year. I'm thinking of the Chandler. Well, I'm not going to go through names because I'll leave them.
Yeah.
I'll leave people out, and that's not important. But I felt a part of St. Andrews more so than just somebody who came here in the summer.
I think that helped a lot was the Ray boys,
Yeah.
Mrs. Thompson's.
Yeah.
And Cowan boys
Yeah.
and Fraser's. They mingled with the people in the town people.
Sure.
And they used to have ball games up the hotel,
Yeah.
and the town boys come to know them better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And two, around that time, I think, George, you may have to correct me here, the young people of St. Andrews became much more, even though back in 34 to 39,
Yeah.
as a young person of St. Andrews, you were employed by the hotel. There seemed to be more of the youngsters, well, I call them youngsters, anybody under, sort of 25 is a youngster, were employed by,
way by my age.
yeah, employed by the Algonquin than
Yeah.
before.
Well, a lot of the experience help was come down from hotels in Montreal, Toronto, and
Yeah.
New York, and Chateau, and
Frontenac,
come down here for the summer.
yeah, yeah,
Things were slack up there, and they come down and work, especially the office staff and the head waiters, and most of all the cooks was all again from those other hotels.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the cooks and the office staff, those aren't the ones that are seen by the visitors.
No.
So it's the people up front that I always think, your busboys, your waitresses, your bellhops, your elevator operators.
Yeah.
They don't have those anymore.
No,
They're the ones that the guests are always
yeah.
seeing, and the chambermaids. They're the ones that,
most all of them were outside.
yeah, they were, eh?
Experience. Very few job like that was town people.
But now with the MBCC and its hospitality and tourism course now over the last number of years, a lot of those young people are working at the hotel.
Oh
in the
yeah,
summer.
yeah. It's changed and after got that college started. See, Joe Coretta used to be the head waiter. The head waiter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gus Warland was the captain, and Mr. Cashman was the manager for years.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kelly was the assistant manager. He had the orchestra first,
Yeah.
then become assistant manager. Remember Mrs. Shears, May Shears' mother?
Yes.
She was a beautiful dancer.
Yeah.
We used to come to the hotel and on the casino and watch them dance. And Charlie Hope and his wife, Theo, they were beautiful dancers.
Yeah.
We used to go up in the back steps of the casino on the side.
Yeah, on the side, yeah, and watch.
Yeah, and they'd open the big door so we could watch them.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
What do you think, and this is a projection, of course, what do you think is going to occur, change maybe even in St. Andrews in the future? Can you foresee any?
Well, I'm not around that much. But if we had a small industry in town to keep the people in town,
Yeah.
they get an education today and they got to go to town to get work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by a small industry, what type of industry would you favor?
Anything that's, would employ 30 or 40 people, things like that. Now they got that call center up there.
Yeah.
There's quite a few up there, I understand.
But that's not really, when I say it's not really, it's a sort of a full-time, a permanent part-time job.
Yeah.
But with the hours and it's not what a family would think of as their bread and butter.
No.
And I think you're talking about an industry or a small, well, it can't be that small, that would provide these bread and butter jobs.
Well, like Connolly's Lobsters, they employed quite a few people there.
They
that
sure
was a good
did.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't see the lobster, be it Conley's or any other, coming back.
There was a man that lived over in Letite, and his son joined the army,
Mm-hmm.
and he was overseas, and when he came back, he got training in the army, and when he came back, he went to Toronto and got a job in Toronto, and he got married, and he and his his wife come down to visit the grandparents, or his parents. And of course, over there, in this time of the year, lobster was the main thing.
Yeah.
So come Christmas time, he said to his wife, the old gent said to his wife, we ought to send the kids up some lobsters for Christmas. Well, that's a good idea. So he made a box and lined it with seaweed, ice, and took it to St. John, put it on the Air Express to send to the young people. Well, 4 or 5 days after Christmas, they never heard a thing from the young people. So he said, I better call them and see if they got the lobsters. Otherwise, it's going to be spoiled. So he called the son and he asked the son, oh yeah, we got them. How were they? Bad. He said, every one of them was green. I had to throw them out. Of course, they're the heat of the other one I only saw them cooked.
Yeah, he only saw them when they were red.
Yeah, I had to throw them out.
Oh, golly.
After going to all that trouble and taking the St. John and paying the Air Express to Toronto.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Well, I guess...
Things like that makes life, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Doesn't it? It's, but, you know, to hear that things like this, you hear them, you know, in sort of jokes.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
people,
yeah.
but, you know, in fact, it happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It happened. So
What's mine? Christie. Ray Christie, remember him from around here? He had a very bad eyesight. And he painted for, I don't know, McLaren's, I think it was. Claude McLaren and them. Anyway, they had Mrs. Pickles painting,
Yes.
and Thompson's crew was up there putting the carpet down in the living room because George McLaren was late getting his work done. Couldn't put it down. And she was coming in a couple of days' time. So it was a hot day. Thompson's crew was up there laying the carpet. And you look out that way at the big picture window, you see the Van Horn's down and
Yeah,
past McQuaid
yeah.
Bay. And you look out this way, all you saw were the few trees and the town dump. Well, the boys were working there and we stopped to have a coffee. And one of the boys says, boys, that's a sight to behold. Didn't know Christie's around there at all. Christie's over on the side, painting the window outside. And Christie looked in and said, oh my God, you're no Clark Gable. Yeah, no Clark.
Oh, boy.
That was quite a character, Christie.
Yeah.
He
You,
went-
you've mentioned Van Horn Island a couple of times, George. What part did Van Horn Island, and of course the railway, etc., actually play in sort of the history of St. Andrews?
Well, I think Van brought a lot of his friends down here.
Yeah.
And they owned just the lower part of the island.
Hmm.
And then I think a couple of years later they bought the farm.
Yeah.
Bought the Dutch built cattle in.
Well, I do remember reading about or hearing about in the winter, Van Horn would have fresh butter sent up to
Yeah.
him. I think it was in Montreal by train, by the
Yeah.
CP train.
CP train.
Yeah.
Milk this morning and I had the next morning for breakfast.
Yeah.
Cream and stuff.
Yeah.
And they had two hot houses over there about 100 feet long.
Big ones.
Oh yeah. And they raised fruit there and they told me they sent the fruit stuff off the vines up to Van Horn's in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, all year round, something was going on
Oh
in the
yeah, they
island.
kept staff there all year round over there. Yeah.
And were these local people?
Most of them were, yeah.
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 Well, became local people.
Yes. Because when they moved down here, they stayed down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one thing that I remember over the summer years, anyway, George, was Higgins ice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you? I'm sure you do remember that, and I'm sure you knew
Yeah.
Mr. Higgins very well.
Well, Mr. Higgins, that's George's father, was
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Herb Higgins, but
George.
George and Gordy, Dr.
Yeah.
Higgins. Then they had a brother, Harry. He was studying for a doctor and he got poisoned somehow in the hospital. He died very suddenly.
Oh dear.
Harry Higgins. Yeah.
Because then after the ice, George Higgins worked in Wren's.
Yeah, working range, yeah. Yeah.
Wren's just sort of, I don't mean to say folded, but it sort of disappeared.
Yeah, did, yeah.
Was there just not enough work for two pharmacies?
I don't know just what the story was on it. Like everything else, there's always a change.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always a change.
So, and there was nobody in the, well, I would say the Wren's family that,
No, old
Wanted
Tom
to-
Rand's family all died, yeah.
yeah, and there was
Yeah.
nobody to take over the store.
Where was he Harbor View Hotel in St. Andrews.
Now this again, this will be the second question you asked me. The first one isn't on tape, which I failed badly. I had no idea where the chapel corner was. Um, well,
We'll make the story short.
I don't know.
The house Higgins owned. Herb Higgins,
Yeah.
or Charlie Horsnell, ran that and ran a hotel there. Now Charlie Horsnell would be Edna Higgins's grandfather,
Yes.
and he ran a hotel down there, and he sold it, and he moved up, or sold it to Higgins, I think it was, and moved up and built a house in the corner of William and Parr Street.
Okay. And that's where the hotel was?
Yeah, I said they called that the Harbor View Hotel.
Harbor View and
Higgins' house.
yeah, William.
Oh, it's quite a ways back.
I was going to say what harbor were they viewing from back there?
Well, it's looking out towards the, I don't know, west, it must be, yeah, northeast there, northwest,
Northwest,
Yeah.
yeah.
looking out that way.
I guess there weren't as many buildings
No,
up
no,
then,
no,
and
no.
the chance of a clearer view, because now if you see water view anywhere, it's usually a house that is extra tall,
Yeah.
or has nothing in front of it.
Mr. Prentice always said that it's a shame that they allow them to build the houses on the waterfront. It cuts the view altogether.
Yeah, it does. Well, Mona Prentice will, I'm sure, be very happy and pleased with the new New Brunswick law, which is coming into effect,
Yeah.
which states that no building on private, municipal, public land can be done within 30 meters, which is approximately 100 feet of the shoreline.
Yeah.
And that will protect.
Yeah, but even at that, if you build up, if you build a big building there, you're going to cut off the view altogether.
Yeah, oh, sure.
Yeah.
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 You know, it just doesn't. There, I guess, is no protection
No, no.
to cutting off view, other than a person's respect for his or her neighbors, and
yeah.
you know, otherwise it doesn't go.
Where was the first golf links in St. Andrews?
That was around the casino.
Yeah.
That one I know.
The first tee was at the front door of the hotel.
At the hotel, yeah, and the grass was long.
Yeah. Well, you know why the caddies, they've given us an iron rod,
To find
and
the ball.
they shot
Yeah.
when they shot off the tee, the caddy would go where the ball landed, and shove this rod down the ground. Then they move along further for the next shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. E.B. Simpson told me that. He went, first tee was by the front door of the hotel, and the second was by the casino,
Yeah.
and then across to the Horseman place, and down back to the Horseman, and all that was all golf links.
Off
down.
golf links, yeah.
And the way the old fellows used to get caddies, they up there selling flowers, which was quite a thing on those days. They sell a flower, and when they sold the flowers, they'd hire the caddy for them.
Oh, jeez.
They're always sure of getting the caddy.
I'm wondering what the going wage was for
I don't imagine too much.
for a caddying at those days.
No, not too much. They did raise it out here from 50 cents to 75, then they usually end up with $1.
Yeah.
And now I guess for $4 or $5 you I don't think
Well,
we
there
use
aren't
caddies
any
now.
caddies
though.
now. There are no more
No.
caddies. You know, you might find if there is a tournament on,
Yeah, that's
you
what
might
they-
find a son or a daughter caddying for his or her mom or dad, or maybe even a father caddying for his son or daughter. But other than private arrangements like that, it's all cart.
50 cents for a caddy, and then they raised it to 75. And there was a lot of walking. And some of those golf bags, the strap, oh, boy.
Would they cut your
Oh,
shoulders?
cut your shoulder right off, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I remember when the fee went to $1,
Yeah.
and of course, if you were good, you would get $1.25.
Yeah.
Now, although the American dollar was below the Canadian
Yeah, oh, yeah.
for a few years, most of the time it was a little higher par. And when you got an American dollar, you got sort of
rich.
Yeah, you were sort of, you got about $1.05.
Yeah.
You know, maybe $1.10, and that was a big treat to get an American, you know, to caddy for an American.
Yeah. Oh boy. He used to be golfer. Remember R.C. Skinner? He was quite a golfer.
Yeah.
And on the fifth hole, he would drive over the woods that come out there on your left hand side.
Over the dog leg.
Over the dog leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. Arch was really, and do you remember Susie Denley?
Yeah.
And she ran the dining room out on the porch.
Yeah.
So it, you know, it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
George, any other remarkable things that you can think of that we've sort of skipped by?
Yeah. Pretty well covered, I think. Where Townsend Cottage? No. No. They were had a paper, on the newspaper. The last cottage down on Mons Avenue, over there where Doug Evers, Margot Mays used to live.
Yeah.
Oh, that big cottage there.
Yeah.
Southern News.
Southern News, yeah.
They built that and they only had to come 2 years and they sold it.
Now, do you remember the St. Andrews Dairy?
Yes, it went well.
You know, that
Yeah.
was, of course, Margot and Norman
Yeah.
Mays ran that, but I think it could have been the idea of Mr. and Mrs. Redmond. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well,
Do you remember
the
anything?
Shaughnessy building, I remember the Lady Shaughnessy's, she had a big green, I don't know, must have been Packard or Pierce Arrow or something. You used to keep it down, and the chauffeur lived down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and now, of course, it's a residence.
Yeah,
I think it's my understanding, and I don't think I'm talking out of school, George, is that Kingsbury Garden, Lucinda Flamer and John Flamer have bought that.
Oh yeah.
And are going to use it for residence for their garden staff.
Oh yeah, good idea.
I think, you know, if I'm wrong,
We all make mistakes.
yeah, that will just be classified as another one.
Yeah. Oversight.
Oversight or undersight. Oh, it's
Well, now, where was the distillery in St. Andrews?
oh boy, was this public distillery or
No,
was
they
this?
made liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have no
There wasn't
idea.
no.
I wouldn't have any idea.
I don't know. Where was it, George?
You know where Dorothy McLaughlin lives? Well, the house this side of that. There used to be a place there, and that was the distillery. And after that closed, they turned it into a blacksmith shop.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And
And Eldon Doon tells me that he can remember going with his father for a walk Sunday afternoon and going up to old Pat Sheehan's. Lived up there where Bert Cross used to live. Fulton Cross used to live. And he sit on the stone wall was still there, and he'd sit there and talk and then come along. And that was and that house was moved down from the corner of Montague and Edward Street. Martin Parker owned 2 houses, and that was on the corner, and he wanted to out of there, so he sold his, I forget the name now, there's some relation to McDowell. She was Jimmy McDowell's sister or something. They moved it down there, and Bessie Johnson, the first to live in there, she was a cousin or something from Shamcook. Yeah.
oh boy. And now, would they sell moonshine, or would they?
Oh, no,
that was all part of the
Yeah.
Provincial
Yeah.
Liquor Commission,
Well,
or was that not in effect yet?
The old Scott Act, they called it. They
Yeah.
worked on the old Scott Act. That was the different than what they have today in liquor controls.
Yeah. And did they sell what they made?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so it was not only a manufacturing still, but it was also a retail shop.
The Burns girls over there told me about it, but they said it was up on Queen Street. But I found that unless there was 2, that one was down there.
There may have been more than two.
Yeah, it might have been, yeah.
Only one legal, but
Yeah.
the others.
Oh, there used to be a lot of bootlegging on landing here on liquor.
Would that be because of the coast of Maine?
Well, yes, Maine was dry.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's all kinds of bootleggers
Yeah.
up in around St. Stephen area.
And they come running down here and,
I remember one time we had 7 of them over there in jail at one time.
oh boy.
I made a raid on it, yeah.
Where did they get caught?
Some people,
Oh, selling.
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Undercover man come in and was in mind the story in St. George. The fellow in St. George, he wasn't too highly educated, and he's bootlegging. So the Holmes was a Mountie over there, and they were going to catch him. The last thing they were going to catch him. So they got a spotter come down, and this fellow was down on the corner by the where the
Change of
post
scenery,
office is now.
finally.
Yeah.
And the Mountie pointed the fellow out to the spotter. So after a while, the spotter appeared, and he asked this fellow, he says, "Where can I get a liquor?" The fellow said, "I don't know anything about liquor." Well, he says, "I'm working in the woods up in Bonnie River, and this is the first time I've been out for a month, and I'd like to have a drink. Where can I get it?" Well, the fellow said, "I don't know any bootlegger. I know a bootlegger. I don't know if he'll sell it or not." Well, he said, here's $10. See if you get me a bottle. So the fellow says, "Okay, I'll go down and see what I can find. But in the meantime, hold this box of shoes." He had a shoe box. "Hold this till I come back." So the fellow went down. I won't mention his name because people still live in St. George.
Oh, dear.
And the fellow held the box there and quite a while. And the Mountie come down, Holmes, and he says, "You see that buffalo?" He said he'd get me a bottle. He went quite a while ago, and he hadn't come back. I gave him $10. The Mountie says, "Open the shoebox, see what's in that." There was a bottle in the shoebox.
My God.
Yeah. And he was supposed to be uneducated. Because you know, he would never take money, paper money.
No.
No.
Had to be
marked,
coin.
a numbered coin.
Yeah.
And Louis Rubin had a store down on Portage Street. Down Louis was a clothing store, and kind of a wall around their place. So Buffalo had one particular place he could go down and lift a rock. If he had a paper money, he'd put it underneath the rock. So when the Mounties come to search him, there's no money. He hid the money. In a couple of days' time, he'd come back and pick the money up.
Well, it sounds like the systems in those days were as good as the systems today.
yeah.
The systems today don't necessarily hold anything over, you know, the minds of whether it was bootlegging or whatever it was. There was always a way that they would figure it out to do something.
I knew quite a few of the suppliers, well, not quite a few, 4 or 5 of the suppliers. They'd get the liquor from St. Pierre and Miquelon, bring it in.
Yeah, yeah.
And there were 3 places they'd land. If it was a clear night and high tide, they'd land down at the point.
Right down here, yeah.
And if it wasn't too good, they'd go in and drop anchor back at St. Andrews Island and wait till dark and come into Smuggler's Cove or
Smuggler's Cove.
yeah, in the Partner Bridge there. You come in there, and put the liquor up in the woods, and then the truck would come down, or the taxi would come down,
Pick it up.
take it up to them. That was a great place. And then the other place would be Johnson's Cove, just the other side where Blair Thompson lives.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's the Johnson's Cove, and they landed in there too. Same thing, put it in the woods. I knew the man who used to come down and pick it up for them. He did.
Oh, okay. Oh, you don't have to worry about
No.
about giving away his identity.
That when they put the new roads in, years ago. See, the old St. Andrews Road, St. Stephen Road, was down along the shore.
Sure, yeah.
And they
Yeah.
come out and the other side of Blair Thompson's there. But they had to put a new bridge in down there in Johnson's Cove.
Yes.
And they were working on the bridge, putting it in, and there's a family, the name of Ross. There's two families of Rosses, not releasing these Rosses here. There's two families of Rosses. One lived where Ruby Thompson had the boarding house, and the other family lived diagonally across the road where the lawyer lives, Bartlett.
Yeah.
And Johnson's Cove. Yeah. And they used to put the liquor in there, and the same thing, pick it up and bring it up.
Jeez.
And the Tom Crew was out there working one time, and Albert Dixon was working for them. It was a hot day. So he said to Norman Johnson, Norman's a foreman, he said, "Boys, I'd like to go in there for a swim." Well, Norman says, "Pretty near dinner time, go ahead and go in. Get up in the woods and change, go ahead and go in." So they went went up in the wood and changed, going down for a swim. And the other bunch of the town crew was working up the road further. And they come down and they saw these clothes. They said, "Oh, something must have happened here." So they picked the clothes up and took it into the town barn. Well, Norman had gone home to dinner in there and they didn't know it. And there was Dixon out there in the water, no clothes.
No clothes.
Wait till the crew come back. Oh, they used to play awful tricks with him. One time as a sewer cap up there by Fields' garage, and the town crew had been working down there, and they didn't put the top down, saw it. And the other bunch of crew come down, saw this cap up, and they thought, "Geez, the kids will get into that and they get hurt." So they put the top down.
Oh,
And
gee.
Dixon was down in there, and they
In
stayed there after 1 o'clock till the crew come back. God, he used to play awful tricks.
Did they know he was down there?
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
No, they
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. So it's oh, geez.
Things like that make some life
Amusing.
amusing, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess there could be probably some stories today about some of the tricks that,
Oh, yeah.
that go
Yeah.
on now, but the tricks of the old days, St. Andrews as it was, is always, I think, George, a valuable memory, and certainly for the majority of us that, unlike yourself, probably were not native Charlotte County born people, or certainly not native St. Andrews people. You were you were born in 1919 and
1918.
1918, and
I was
you moved
wrong.
down here at 29, so that was 11 years. 11 years of age, and Bing, you, I guess, would it be safe to say, other than Mr. Mallory, Mr. Goodall is the next most senior.
I would like how mind Mr. Mallory has.
Oh,
He
you're,
can tell you where people lived and where their grandmother lived and what hat they wore or anything else. Well, he has a photographic mind.
yeah,
Very, very clever man.
yeah.
Too bad he's losing his eyesight, though. That's
Yeah.
failing him.
I still see him walking.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
to the post
Very
office.
slowly, yeah.
And, yeah, very
Yeah.
slowly, but
He rests if he gets a chance to talk to someone. He'll rest to talk.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
he's a great man, Mr. Mallory.
Well,
I
that's
got a
not,
lot of information from Mr. Mallory.
that's not to say, George, that you're not a great man.
I wouldn't say that.
But you're certainly a valuable person for our community and to our community, and for your participation today and bringing us back some of the memories of St. Andrews of old and even St. Andrews today, and making comparison where comparisons were needed. We thank you.
The brickyard, that was out in Pottery Bridge, around the corner further. And Harry Mary tells me that when he was young, he can remember coming out with his grandfather to get clay to repair the chimneys.
Yeah.
And he said there was a...
I like how the guy was like wrapping it up, and now he brought up something new.
Here on a visit, and he looked at that clay pot, and he said that's the best clay he ever saw for pottery.
Yeah.
And that's where they, and this tough come down here and made pottery. And he
Tough.
tells me that the Yvonne house, or the Harry Hatch residence, you know, up on Queen Street,
Yes.
and the Hibbert house,
Yes.
and the town county record office,
Yes.
and the one up there, Dr. Parker's museum.
Oh, yes.
That was
yes.
all made from bricks from that
From
yard.
that yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the
So that was an industry here.
that clay, is still there.
Yeah.
It's still there, and
But you only take so much off the beach today, and they put the run to you.
oh yeah.
They used to go down the point and get gravel. Gravel there. Years ago, if you wanted your sidewalk or your gravel, you'd have to pay for it. You could have to do it, but you pay for it yourself.
Yeah.
Town lets you do it. Yeah.
Well, it's still, I guess, now, with the attempt to conserve
Yeah.
our green space and our natural water outlets and everything, it's difficult to do these things. I'm not sure, working with clay to do some pottery
Yeah.
isn't acceptable, but I don't think a big construction of,
Oh,
of
no.
bricks would pass muster.
There must have been an awful lot of bricks though to build those
Boy.
big houses. Yeah.
Because those houses are not
Yeah.
small.
No, they're not.
They're not small. Right.
Davis and Grimmer lived down here, or no, Howard Grimmer lived down in the next corner where the Church of England manse is now.
Yes.
And Leighton's wanted to come down, but they couldn't get a place in St. Andrews to stay for the summer. Harry Mary's family, Howard Grimmer and his wife and daughter moved out and went down to Kennedy's Hotel and stayed there and rented their home to Leighton's.
The Laytons.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the now Kennedy House
Yeah.
was then the Kennedy House,
Yeah.
and in between.
We're now an
it's
hour
been
into
two
this tape.
hotels.
Yeah. Built in 1881 on Kennedy's.
Yeah. So that goes back a long way.
Long way.
So that's a 360-degree circle.
Yeah.
It started out as a Kennedy House,
Yeah.
and it is returned to be the Kennedy House.
And Frank Kennedy's daughter was here last summer. I was talking to her. She came up to visit me. She lived in Vancouver. She's the only one left of the family. And Archie Kennedy worked in Montreal. And his job was supervising the painting of Cadillac cars.
Holy smokes!
That was his job.
Jeez.
So he must have been pretty reliable.
Yeah, I would say, because that was the top line of the GMs.
Yeah, he gave it up and come home after his father died to help Frank to run the hotel. And I think it may be more of a nuisance than help.
Well, he's not here to be
No.
to substantiate your claim or deny it. So we won't worry about that. That will be just a great a great remembrance of someone as old St. Andrews. I love here because we have to conclude, George.
Yeah.
I read this at the beginning, where it states, private property, not to be copied, but the most important thing is underneath it you have written, some facts may be questioned.
Yeah. The time that there was a piece there about the slaves living in the second hole of the golf links.
Yeah,
They used to call that Slab Town.
Yeah.
And this woman stopped me in the street. She said, "Where'd you get such foolishness as that?" Well, I said, some of the older people passed on to me. She said, "You believe in that stuff?" Well, I said, "I have no reason why I shouldn't believe it." She said, "I don't." And she said, you shouldn't print that stuff unless you're sure of it." Well, I said, "I feel quite sure of it." She said, "I don't." I said, "Now tell me, Columbus stayed on Doshays Island in winter of 1604. Was you there with him when he was there?" "Oh, you think you're smart, don't you?" "Well, I just telling you your own words. You don't believe it unless you see it."
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she believe that?
She walked away. I don't.
Oh, she walked away. Well, I don't think there could have been a wiser thing for her to do.
Yeah.
Because I think your question was a very pertinent one, and it also hit home
Yeah.
because one's beliefs are just that. They're one's beliefs.
I don't know what part of that golf links. And Ross and old Craig Burns used to be the gardener up to.
We're losing RF.
He was around that, and Nye Ross used to mow the roughs out there, the golf links. Nye used to come up to Humes'. Humes had hens there, next door. And he used to come every Sunday morning and get his eggs.
Eggs, yeah.
And I'd be over there and I'd listen to all these old stories. And I'd ask the Carson girls, lived down there where Gladys Smith lives.
Yes.
There was quite old people in the town here, and the Burnses, and you see if I get it verified. And most of them were absolutely right in what they said. And they said that was the burial ground for the colored people.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know what their own name was to start with, because they was smuggled into the country, and they was given false names. And I don't suppose any of them knew how to read or write.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they say it was over there in the second hole of the golf league. If it's there or it's across the road, it's in that area. They said that. Yeah.
Well,
Where's the tough brook start at? Oh, I know you live out there.
where does
Where does it start?
the brook?
Yeah.
It starts, actually, it goes underneath, onto the part of the golf course up, underneath 117, and I sort of lose, I don't know where it goes from there.
Well, you know where the second tee of the old
Yeah.
course was?
It was behind
Remember that wet spot up there?
Yeah.
That well never froze over. That water went across the road and down back Bowson and down back
Yeah.
your place.
Yeah.
And out into the
Right down
on the
out
bridge,
to
the
the Tufts,
Pottery Bridge.
yeah, Pottery Bridge and Tufts Creek.
There must have been an awful lot of underground wells, because see, Shamcook Lake, or no, not Shamcook, James's Brook, according to this geologist, started on
Yeah.
the west side of Greenlaws Mountain.
Yeah.
So there must have been an awful lot of underground.
Well, water.
Yeah.
And, you know, well,
I saw a picture one time, Chris, quite a while ago, and I can never find out who had it, but I was talking to Mrs. Alice Doherty about it. There used to be, I seen a picture of a bridge across Water Street by Kennedy's Hotel. And across there, between the gristmill and Joe Handy's place, and down into the beach, the water come down from the hill.
jeez.
And Alice says, yes, I remember seeing that bridge. And she's what, 93 is she? 92 and 93. And she can remember that, seeing that bridge. I saw a picture of it going across it. I don't know who had it and where it is. I never saw it again.
Yeah. Well, I've never, of course, I've never seen it, but that's no surprise. It wasn't around when I was around.
Oh, yeah.
No.
We used to have you've been to Mr. Mallory's house?
Not inside.
No. In his living room, there's a stove, yeah. And in Tony Evon's house, where Pat Garber's got now upstairs, an identical stove. And they say that there's a stove was made by the St. Andrews Foundry. And the foundry was down by the seaside inn, just about back of Horn's house,
Yeah.
of Frank Horn's house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Foundry and the mattress factory. And you know the mattress factory?
The mattress?
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of the mattress
Oh.
factory.
Mattress factory for the old building. They moved it down back of King Street there, and they used it for a warehouse. Fraser Gay used it for a warehouse for years.
Fraser did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
It was a.
And that was a building
Oh
called
yeah.
the mattress factory.
Yeah, they built mattresses there. When I went to hotel, there was an awful lot of them, but every room had them. They fitted down into the rails.
Yes.
Then the mattress and the box spring, the mattress. Yeah.
We even had our own mattress company.
Yeah, we had our own mattress and our own liquor supply and our own stores.
That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all you need. Well, George, with that, we better stop and
Mo's looking hungry.
yeah, that's right. Mo's looking hungry, and we've always, our cameraman, our technician is the most important part of the crew, and if I don't treat him nicely,
Yeah.
he does funny things with the film, and everybody laughs at me.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm just gonna tight.
you want to?
No, I get it.
There you go.
Did you look at these?
Yes. Well, I saw them before when you were showing them to Mo.
Oh yeah.
And there's some lovely old, pictures and
That may be
the curling.
Cook Lake. Do you know any of them?
No, I don't. I don't recognize.
Bobby Cockburn, Hal Stickney, Dr. Neal, Jim Skinner. I think that fellow there is at Simpson there. And G.B. Finnegan.
Yeah, I know all the names.
And there's a Denley. I know Stanley, one of the Denleys.
Oh, boy, and I know, I now look at this and I recognize.
Oh yeah.
But I wouldn't have recognized Bobby Cockburn with that hat on.
No, that's
This guy is so exercising the maritime goodbye, saying goodbye, and then starting a new conversation. And then be like, well, time to go, and then starting a new conversation. The guy initially started wrapping things up, I think, 20 minutes ago.
Jeez. Isn't that?
SWC O'Neill there.
Yeah. Yeah, and what do I see? Is that water?
That's the water, and the Van Horn's Island over here, see?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Isn't that...
Yeah.
And there's the town square.
Yeah.
And as Mo was saying before we started chatting, it doesn't look that much different
No, it
than
does
it
not.
does today.
See, this was the roof of the old mattress.
Oh, the old mattress company.
Oh, yeah.
Now the postal.
Yeah. You know,
Postal.
Mr. Manickle used to be the town marshal,
Yes.
and there was a holiday in town here, some celebration. So Mr. Manickle come down the street, and he saw these two fellows coming up the street. And he says to himself, they're up to no good. So Mr. Nichols stood in the back of a building somewhere and watched them. And they went down. He figured they're going to the old warehouse down there. So he waited for a while, and he sauntered down the street, and he went in there and says, God, someone left these doors open. And there was a box stall there. He knew the fellows in the box stall, and he knew they were drinking. So he put the lock on the box stall, and they couldn't reach it to get out. It's about 6 o'clock that night he come down. He said, what are you fellas doing in there? Well, someone put the lock on the door and we can't get out. They shouldn't be in there to start with. You have to fuck up there from about 8 o'clock in the morning to about 6 o'clock that night.
I guess they had sobered up by
Yeah,
then.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last, yeah.
There's a showroom there. Kennedy's used to have showroom. People come in the train, you know, there's salesmen,
Yes.
different stores, and they display their stuff in here.
Oh,
Kennedy's showroom. Yeah.
boy. Boy,
That's,
oh boy,
that's
oh
the
boy.
old well.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the town hall sits over that now.
Oh, the town hall back further. Town hall where the old where the
Where?
yeah, but
Right
where
back-
it is there now, yeah.
Right there.
This here was quite a ways out in the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the perspective.
Yeah.
Is difficult to. It's difficult to see.
My little friend next door, she's quite an attractive young lady, and she asked me one day about something I was saying, and it was just a minor question.
Yeah.
And I knew I had the answer somewhere, so I started looking. I found it, and I told her, sold her the book I had then. Well, she said, why don't you put that all down in one book? And she said, I got a computer, and I'll put it on the computer, and each one will have a copy of it. So Kaylee put it down, and she got a copy of that book, and I have the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got the original.
She was interested enough to
boy. There's an old...
Old Paddy Donahue. Paddy Donahue had the store. He sold liquor in a grocery store. In those days, you sell liquor. And he had a bar of liquor up on the stand, raised against the wall. So some of the fellas saw it there. And they took a brazen bit and bore it through the wall, the outside wall, and into the keg and siphoned the liquor out. Well, Paddy was losing the liquor, but he wasn't getting the money and know what happened. Yeah.
Ingenious.
There was a sham battle up in the St. Croix River, and these boats are going up to take part in the sham thing.
Yeah.
And there's roughly four boys went out to see the boat go by. Well, two fellas wanted to come home. I put them in on the shore there, and they stayed out. And the waves from the boats going up pretty much sunk the rowboat that the two fellas was in. And they horned, and the boat pulled from the wharf, went out and got them. And the boat was just boat level.
With water.
Yeah.
They didn't have a bailing can.
No.
Or they couldn't bail fast enough.
Couldn't have fast enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, George, will you say goodbye to all our viewers?
Yeah.
And thank you very much for giving us so much of your time.
There's more there, but I haven't got time for it.
We could do we could do sequels to this.
Yeah. So, well, I hope some help to someone.
Oh, it always is, and I'm sure it will be.
Well, what I haven't got down, Kaylee's got down, so she's a dear little girl.
Yeah.
Her father's the principal of the school in St. Stephen.
Oh, is?
Yeah, in the school. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
There's
that.
a cat here. It belongs to her. It belongs to the kids.
I know the Kaylee he's talking about. I know her. She volunteers at CHCO. Oh, that's cool.
Upstairs, lays underneath her bed
Yeah.
3 and 4 hours at a time.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, we were all very, very sad
Yeah.
and sorry to hear of your sister's death, George, but I guess.
Those things
it's
happen
just-
to the best of families.
Oh,
It's
yes.
got to happen.
Well, yeah, time doesn't wait for us, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay. Well, I'll say goodbye.
Well, I'll say goodbye and so long, and I hope
and
we've been.
thank our
little
viewers for
help.
taking the time to learn about St. Andrews in the past and in the present, and hope you enjoyed it.
Christy wanted to sign up in the Army.
Oh my goodness, are we done? Wow. All right.
Cage sites. We have to use smaller mesh than
I'm just going to hit stop for now. Woo! That was an hour and 15 minutes. I clued in there. He was talking about Kaylee, and he's like, oh yeah, Kaylee, her grandfather's the principal of the middle school. I know the Kaylee he's talking about. She volunteers at CHCO. And her grandfather was still the principal of the middle school when I was at the middle school. So that went on for an hour and 15 minutes, and he was still talking the maritime goodbye, although maybe it's not quite so unique to the Maritimes as I'm seeing in the chat here. That was cool, though. That was neat. That was a lot of history. And he spoke about places around here. He talked about Deer Island, St. George, Letite. They're all places that I'm familiar with. I'm from Deer Island. I lived there for 11 years. And anyway, that was neat. Long, but neat. And we still have 50 minutes left on this. Yeah, I was thinking the same, Alistair. I was like, maybe this interview spans 20 tapes. But now I gotta see what's next on this tape, because there's still 50 minutes on this tape. Oh no, there isn't. Sorry, no, yeah. That's a real-time counter. We've done an hour and 15 minutes, and it's a 2 hour and 6 minute tape. Yeah, we still have 50 minutes. Woo! Alright, well, let's see what's next. We gotta get through one tape in this stream.
but we're finding that we can transfer them already as early as maybe 3 months after they've hatched and able to reach that critical size at which they'd be able to survive in the cages. Then it's up to the other side to find out the fastest growth rates possible,
The RF's all over
the
the
lighting
place.
conditions, the right
I
kinds
can't
of
get the
diet,
tracking set.
the right kinds of cages, the currents, all these factors will come into play to determine whether we can reach very rapid sizes out in the
All right.
cage site.
Let's back it up. Okay. Looks like we had good hi-fi audio there.
Cage sites, we have to use smaller than normal so they don't escape, but we're finding that we can transfer them already as early as maybe 3 months after they've hatched and able to reach that critical size at which they'd be able to survive in the cages. Then it's up to the other side to find out the fastest growth rates possible, the lighting conditions, the right kinds of diet, the right kinds of cages, the currents, all these factors will come into play to determine whether we can reach very rapid sizes out in the cage sites, which will be probably the telling story as to how well haddock will do in this local environment. So I think what you're seeing here is a nice group of haddock from our first set. We have a total of roughly 3 to 4 tanks or taller silos like this that we're trying to produce this year. And what we hope to have over the long run is a good group of haddock that come out this year, find out where our problems were in terms of actual production bottlenecks, and then look into those questions for next year's research and try and improve on our problems and then continue to do what we're doing right in the appropriate way. So I think the last thing I'll show you then is fish that have been hatched from last year and are roughly 1 year old, and these are in another tank. The last tank which we'll be showing you here is something. The last tank that I'll be showing you is fish which were raised last year as small larvae. We did not move all of them out to the industry site. We left some haddock here for experiments, and what we've been doing is determining whether continuous light on the animals will enhance their growth compared to just normal daylight conditions. And this in the future could perhaps be used on cage sites where lights are used throughout the growing, throughout the full day cycle, so there's no darkness experienced by the animals. But what you can see is in the tank here are quite a nice size of juvenile haddock, and these animals have been kept under 24-hour light since their hatching of last year. And we have similar tanks set up where they've been under natural daylight, and we found that these have grown much faster than those under natural daylight. However, there's a couple of wrinkles and experimental work to be done to iron out how effective lights will be and when you would use them and what is the brightness of lights to be used and whether they even inhibit sexual maturation. If they do that, it'll be a good thing because the development of the ovary and testes in these fish can come up to around 20% of their body weight, and they're not really marketable, so the grower would really rather them not mature. And so if we can find out ways to prevent them from attaining sexual maturity, then that would be helpful for the industry in the future. And continuous light seems to be one research avenue that has shown some promise in other animals, and like salmon, so we'd like to see if it's going to work for haddock as well. So I think now we've sort of gone right through the 1 year cycle, and you can see that we're quite excited about what we've accomplished. It's been a large team effort, and from the early days of the station when they worked on the oysters, you can see that we're still very much front and center in terms of aquaculture in Atlantic Canada, and we hope very much to produce haddock and also halibut in the in the times to come to find out whether we can help the industry to diversify beyond salmon, and it can be either in pens, or it may end up to be intensive culture, which means land-based systems and recirculating systems. So we feel there's a lot of research still to be done, although we've made good headway, and we're looking forward to a promising future. Thank you. And that's it for this segment.
Okay. That was that. What's next? Oh, funny, this isn't even an S-VHS signal. Somebody recorded a standard VHS signal onto this tape. The S-VHS light's gone out. Although it does have hi-fi audio. Okay. I don't know what this is, but I'll back it up and digitize it.
That's it for this segment.
No, but if you guys want it, it doesn't matter to me, because I'm not going to do anything. We really need to go. I know the guys don't care.
Frostbite in my face once, speed work.
No way.
And I forgot about it, and it didn't feel like it was frostbite. Then I looked at it and said, how did I get that black mark? Okay, as soon as those two runners finish, if you can line me up, do the introduction to the
I suppose it could be smelling, eh? I am positive. This is great. At least you are want to eat. That's my positive. I won't overheat. Usually I run out of
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, senior female. We could have all the females come out and line up.
Now the wheelchair race is next.
That's okay. I'll be ready for it. They don't kill me, you smarty. But you're going home.
I just want to see you fall.
Okay, if we could just line up here, the camera's there. It'll be looking good. Okay, from Membrum Cook, Charlene Boudreau. All right, Charlene. From Nova Scotia, Heather Jane Goodfellow. The St. John Runners by the Sea, Lee Arthur. From Fredericton, Michelle Cormier. And from St. John, Kristen Sweet. Girls to the line.
Is it all here?
It's apparently cold, but they probably won't be cold once they start running. Trying to see if I can tell where this is, but I can't. So apparently St. Andrews Community Television did like Fundy Cable did, and they re-recorded tapes over and over. That's why the tapes are numbered. That's why they're not labeled. They're just numbered with a single number. It's because they were just reused over and over, so they probably numbered them so they could tell which ones they had used last, so they could wear them all in evenly. So we're seeing the newest stuff at the beginning of the tape, and then as each recording on the tape ends, the next recording after it's older.
I didn't win any prizes though. I'm the man!
Thank you.
I got 3 tickets. And the girl is coming in for first. She's going.
Okay, senior man.
That's being recorded, you know.
What's being recorded? Jen Kate is like so. Are you serious? So injured. That's being recorded?
Yeah, I beat Adam Stacy in our wrestle.
I beat Jen K physically.
Okay, gentlemen, if we'd line up here, please.
If I recall correctly, St. Andrews Community Television did have some Betacam SP VCRs, so I wonder if they recorded raw footage to Super VHS and then mastered the final programs on Betacam SP. So all these tapes might just be raw footage.
Sam Yusuf? No, not him. Ian Lamont. Ian Lamont and Clarence Walsh from Blacks Harbor and Mike Power from St. Andrews in the Masters 35 and over. Okay, gentlemen, through the line. Yeah, just got her in there. All right, somebody's driving.
There's an awful hum in the sound. I wonder if the linear audio is better.
Yeah, I know. Horrible. You're crying? It was hard.
I guess that's the end of that. Now we got something else. Someone was asking for a recommendation for a VHS VCR. If it's your first VCR, like if you have no other VHS VCR, my recommendation would be to just buy something made by Orion in the late 90s, early 2000s. They're cheap, incredibly durable, good quality. So VCRs made by Orion, those are Emerson, Citizen, Memorex, Orion, that actually sold some under their own name. But those are what I recommend. Panasonics from the mid to late 90s, they're really affordable, robust machines too, if you're just looking to get your feet wet. We have 35 minutes left on this tape still. We've been streaming for over 2 hours. Let's see what's next. Wow, good, clean, still image on this. What the heck? How is this pause image so clean? Holy smokes. Okay.
Okay, be that a lesson. You don't cut a tree in
How not to cut a tree.
Okay, be that a lesson. You don't cut a tree in this way, you use a straight edge knife. Right, I did tell you, David, don't use the straight edge knife. Use a straight edge knife. Okay, I'm just teasing him. I suggested using a serrated knife.
Place. Time is 32:13. From Memram Cook, Charlene Boudreau.
And we're back! We're back to the marathon.
Way to go, Charlene. Good run.
Thanks. Good job. Thanks.
Good job, Charlene.
In fourth place, a time of 30:58. From St. John, Runners by the Sea, Lee Arthur.
Way to go, Lee.
I finished. Couple pounds.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple pounds. 2,000 calories. Congratulations. You figured that one out. 4 miles.
In third place, in St. John, time of 28:56, Kristen Sweet.
Hi.
Good run.
Thank you.
In second place, time of 24:42, Nova Scotia, Heather Jane Goodfellow. Congratulations. And in first place with a time of 23:21 from Fredericton, Michelle Cormier.
Alright, okay, great, thanks. And thank you, that was good.
Okay, thank you very much. 4 door prizes, of course.
Just one.
1 door prize. And 2. Lee Arthur.
Thank you! Did I stink that bad, Jennifer?
And the showers are down at the arena. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is at St. Andrew's soap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you make it?
No. Well, yeah, but I don't know if I'll tell you what I made.
Okay.
Because then you won't like it.
I just know that you think I stink.
Thanks a lot.
Because I'm sure we should tell you hi. So, and to Corey as well. And we'll see you next time. Okay. Hopefully it'll be warmer. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, when it's first shot. Well, I heard
Jennifer.
They're videotaping themselves tearing down the set.
Go, Mike. Running. Way to go.
Here's the watch. What was the time? Yeah, it's up there. On the table.
Oh, there you go, Vern.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That means it's cold, but you get okay.
Cold, eh? We'll use paperweights instead.
Ferrets is running well.
This is some candid stuff. It's like some Cloverfield shit. The apocalypse is about to happen. Oh, no, we're done. Man, there's a lot. And we're back to the cooking show. Holy moly. Someone in the chat asked what Super VHS ET meant on their JVC VCR. ET stands for expansion technology, and it just allowed you to record a Super VHS signal onto a normal VHS tape. And you usually got most of the benefit. Normal VHS tape obviously isn't... Okay, sorry, I have to stop this so I don't give you guys a seizure. Normal VHS tape obviously isn't as high grade as Super VHS tape, but in most cases it's good enough. The tape I use with my Panasonic AG-7350 is a normal VHS tape, which I drilled a hole in to make it pretend, or to make it think that it's a Super VHS tape. And it works just fine. All right, back to the cooking show. My God, this one tape is a marathon. We still have half an hour left.
Squeeze that bit, slices. Yeah, it can do. Get rid of it.
Back it up here. Oh, backed it up too far. This VCR has a jog wheel, or has a shuttle dial on it, and a jog wheel. So it can be hard to, and we back her up. All right.
Squeeze that bit, slices. Yeah, it can do. Get rid of the well, no, I mean that's part of the fun of it, isn't it? Oh yeah, because that shows that, you know, I never believe in editing out mistakes. I mean, that makes it more human, doesn't it?
You like liver, Ryan?
Who wants to try anything? Anybody? Not me. I'm not brave enough.
Do you need one of these spoons?
Yes. I need a teaspoon. Okay. We're now ready to put together the steam puddings. We've put the steam puddings in what we call a bain-marie, and it's been cooking for 45 minutes. Cooking times again are as a suggestion. You really have to sort of go into the pudding itself to make sure it is cooked. All right. If you have a steamer at home, that probably would work. But the one we showed you with basically the water in the bottom, which is called bain-marie with a lid on top, works fine. We're going to make a custard first before we actually put them together. To do this, you need 2.5 cups of milk. Now, this is the English custard called Birds. You can get this at the store. This is a custard you see in England all the time when they use for English desserts. The French call it creme anglaise, but their creme anglaise is made a little bit more difficultly with milk, eggs, egg yolks and sugar, and this is cornstarch based. So we're going to take 3 level tablespoons of custard mix, Bird's custard mix. You get the same amount of sugar, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and you blend that together. So it's, because remember it says crystal and powder, and we blend that together. Now you have to be careful when you do this one, because this is one that will burn very easily if you do not watch what you're doing. Now take the milk. Now you'll see what happens when I add. You'll be amazed. This white powder into this milk will change it to yellow. See that? Now we're going to cook it, and this is going to be our sauce. I've got the pot ready to go. You want, ideally, a heavy bottom saucepan, but this also works very well in a microwave. In fact, the microwave is easier because it won't burn it.
That's right.
So put that stove on. Now when you make this, you don't want to leave it. No. And you want to keep on stirring it. Now, when you put it in the microwave oven, it takes about 9 minutes. You have to stir at least about twice. Now, if I was to walk away that, and if I was allowed to boil, it will boil, because it's cornstarch, it will thicken quickly and burn on the bottom. The other way of doing it much longer is to use a double boiler, but that takes quite a bit of while. This is the best way if you're going to be out watching it and doing it. Now, you know it's working because it will start to thicken. And you don't have to cook it, you just have to boil it, thicken it off. That's simple. So did you see this at all in England, David?
I seen the English custard, but it wasn't made from powder.
It wasn't made from scratch?
Made from scratch. Yeah.
Okay. This is the powder, the brand I just showed you is available in the supermarket, and it's the one that's most common in England, which is And it's just one of those things, we talk about the English diet, you know, puddings, a lot of puddings around. A lot of modern recipes have breads in them, or flours, or grease. That's a very typical example of an English diet. We all know how much they love their fish and chips, right? So, there you go. It doesn't take long. So checking now, here we go. That's it. See, nice custard. And it's not burnt. But you had to be quick. So remember, this is served hot. You can serve custard cold. Now, do you ever think in terms of English trifle? The custard on top is that custard. Okay. That's the custard on top of the English trifle. So you can see how it has become part of the English desserts. So David's going to section off an orange. I'm going to section off a kiwi for decorating the puddings. Do you have a knife? Do you want
Yep, serrated knife is the best for doing the orange.
Now, this is one thing you might find interesting to do. If you want, because I need. It's when you do a kiwi, you can peel it like that, I guess. The best way to do it is with a tablespoon and just go under the skin like that and push it. And this gives you a nice smooth finish. You don't end up with lines. And it's very noticeable when you slice the kiwi. If you do it this way, you get a nice smooth edge. Again, we've made sure that all the product that's available to you is local, and everything is available at the supermarket. And you can see how that goes round. Just reverse it. And it's one of those things that I guess I don't know if you want to call it a chef's secret. I don't think it's a secret at all. But it's something you don't see in cookbooks because they don't think, do you need to know this? It's just something that chefs do that people just don't think about. Well, we don't anyway. So when I get to show you, it's a good chance to show some things. So you can see the difference it makes on the smoothness of the presentation. There we go. Right there. Just take the skin here. And there we are. Now you can see the difference. I missed a bit there. Because this is not as ripe, this is quite solid. Kiwis are usually riper than this. So, then we have two choices. We can cut. Let's just do it in circles and half circles.
It's quite firm, isn't it?
Yes. Normally kiwi slices, they're almost like it collapses on its own weight.
Someone's calling the fax line. That's the 1A2 system buzzing.
David's going to show you how to do the orange. Now, while I was doing that, I'm going to set up the puddings. Remember this is the spuddy dick? See, remember we talked about the using saran wrap? Well, this is the beauty of it. Look at this. Wow. See how easy that was? So let's take, whoops. Collapsing on me. You know why? Not cooked. Okay, I guess we're going to have to come back in a few minutes while we finish cooking this product. See you. Hello?
How's that one doing?
Okay. Well, you can see that when I put the saran wrap around it, it's certainly making it a lot easier to take out. And this is, look at this, see? See how that comes out so easily? And the same for this one here. So, there's our puddings. Now remember, this is served hot, so we're going to remove the pudding very carefully onto a cloth. Open up the saran wrap. Now the easiest way to do this, to be honest with you, is like this. Yeah, there's the first one.
Beautiful.
And the second one, we do it in the same way. Open it up. Put it onto. Now you notice the top's going to be slightly different here. It'll be a little bit wetter. Right, take the cloth, take the plate up. See the difference? So there's the two puddings, two different shapes. Now we decide how we're going to serve it. We know we've got custard, so we can take. If I can get a paring knife, thank you. Let's take some of the kiwi. And then we can just decorate a little bit like that. Perhaps a bit, take a bit thinner one. And then just take a bit of mint. And just put it under like that. Again, presentation is everything. Alright, and David would like to put some orange on that one.
Okay, I'm going to segment the orange first. Get rid of the veins.
Now remember the custard we made in the pot, and the custard is also served hot. And I'm just going to pour a little bit around. And this will be served, this obviously I'm working as family style, that will be one way of serving.
Shall we do the same on the top of this one as well?
Yep. And take some of the mint.
Go right around this time.
Okay. Now you can serve other different sauces to it. You don't have to be custard. You can make a syrup sauce. You can make a fruit sauce. You can make a strawberry sauce. I mean, how many sauces can you make? I mean, it depends how many fruits. So again, on this one here, you're just going to, the custard will be poured, and this is served. And this is a family style method, obviously.
Very nice.
And then you just take it into the room, and people will just hack away at it. You know, let me get it. You know, they're fighting over. So that goes to show you the basic same recipe. One had the maple syrup in it. One had sultanas. Both were served with a custard sauce. Great desserts. If you want to surprise people at the end of a meal, this is the one to serve. And it's really, I've done it many times. In fact, in some cases, I've actually served both to my guests. You know, I made both of them for their choice, and they just can't get over it. I mean, it's so simple, but it's so, and it's filling, very, very filling.
Yes.
So, David, once again, thank you very much for your help.
Anytime, Chef.
And
glad to be here.
I know that you had some fun and experience in England and learned a lot about the English way of cooking, and we showed some of those things today, and I'm glad that people were able to watch, and I hope they enjoyed the show. Once again, Channel 10 is a community effort, and we'd like to come into your homes and show you things that we think we know, and perhaps we can share. So once again, thank you very much, and bon appetit.
Thank you for watching.
Good. That's it.
You'll notice he said Channel 10. St. Andrews Community Television was on Fundy Cable Channel 10 in St. Andrews.
Everything else, I guess that's how we're going to do everything, all the food. So you decide, David, okay?
Okay.
Where's my...
Oh, are we done yet? I'm so ready for this tape to be done. For this stream to be done. What's next? What do we got? Oh, there's no control track. Oh, this might be the end, finally. Let's do a little old fast forward there. Yeah, that was a pretty dimly lit set. It seemed like they were using like really crappy like office grade fluorescent lighting. Oh. Oh my goodness, that's the end of that tape. Oh my god, that was boring. Like, there was some cool stuff on that tape, especially the interview with the old guy. But on the whole, that tape was so much more boring than the U-matic stuff. And so I'm wondering now if people are still going to want to see more of these VHS tapes, because if this tape is anything to go by, it's just going to be raw footage rather than finished programs. And I don't know. I guess I'll have to make another poll next time I'm going to stream and just ask people and say, hey, do you want to see more S-VHS or do you want to see U-Mag? There could be some more interesting stuff there. I don't know. But boy, that tape was a drag. And that's the issue with VHS. You get 2 hours to a tape. It's just way too long compared to an hour with U-Matic. We have somebody saying they want to keep it going. Alright, well, there will be another Twitter poll anyhow. It only takes a few minutes to switch the VCRs around, so I don't mind if it ends up being like a back and forth thing, a S-VHS stream and then a U-Matic stream and back and forth. So this tape is just rewinding now. Yeah, and the contents of the tape are truly unknown. Like most of these tapes, all they have on them is a number. Oh, here's number 2. And they're mostly 2-hour tapes, unfortunately. There are a couple of 30-minute tapes. And some 60-minute tapes. But, yeah, so these just must have been... I wonder if they were using an S-VHS camcorder. That's definitely possible. If these are the raw footage, maybe those were the originals. Maybe they used an S-VHS camcorder and then the finished programs were done onto Betacam SP, perhaps. I don't know. Well, at least the VCR worked good. That was a relatively problem-free transfer. I'll have to show what I transferred tonight to Patrick, and maybe he'll end up not wanting any of this. I don't know. Maybe he only wants finished programs to be archived. But anyhow, I've been doing some coughing. I don't know if it was the trail mix or what. Oop. Alright. Here's our tape. Eject. There it is. I like how they put these really crappy looking spine labels on it and then just never... Actually, I think it's just really old masking tape. Yeah, it's just really, really old masking tape that nobody ever bothered to write on. Well, there's our first Super VHS tape down. And I think that's going to be it for the stream tonight. So thank you everybody for joining me tonight. And there will be a poll on Twitter to see if we do another S-VHS next, or if we go back to U-Matic. So that's all. Thank you very much. I really appreciate seeing and talking to everybody tonight. And I'll see you in the next stream. Good night.